Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Once again, my name is Stephen Rodrigues, forecaster at WFO Pueblo, and I'll be speaking to you on applying Mesoscale Environmental Analysis new concepts with service and evolving office culture to support our partners and public. And I'm actually speaking to you on behalf of our mission services group here, led by our WCM, Greg Hevener, and myself. I'm really kind of tasked with kind of addressing items relating to the quote-unquote service side of the house. Now, quote-unquote, or even jokingly, service side of the house, I say that might be the last time I kind of say that by itself, because here locally, service, science, culture are at least viewed in our eyes as connected here. And so there'll be more on that to speak to that here momentarily. But like you mentioned, neighbors to the west on the far western fringe of Central Region here, but Southern Colorado presents itself with unique challenges for our CWA and the people that we do serve. Wide varying terrain from the mountains, the Front Range, as well as the plains, all of which that can have varying weather at any given time. Severe weather across the plains, winter weather hazards across the plains, mountain snow or high mountain valley snow, high fire danger, as well as a burn scar plus flooding. So on that note, kind of with the unique challenge presented with the varying terrain and the varying hazards that we do encounter throughout the year, as well as even noting the terrain and also where our population centers are, Colorado Springs and Pueblo, with regards to that terrain. Additional challenges to work through. So over the next 15 minutes or less, kind of highlight some of the work we've done over the last couple of years, specifically the last year, to kind of maybe help our office, our staff, kind of meet the challenges that arise throughout the year here. Now, our evolution with regards to our forecast approach and our messaging approach really kind of took some leaps and bounds, I think, a couple of years ago with regards to a larger winter event with heavy snow across both the mountains and even the plains there. While it was a well forecasted and advertised event with regards to heavy snow, as you can see on the screen there was a period during this event where freezing drizzle did occur. Now, we were actually able to highlight that potential, but unfortunately, it actually became a larger part of that event for a good portion of the day. And as we saw from that event, very slick conditions, multiple wrecks that did occur, as well as even one fatality. So worthwhile, definitely, I think, for our office to kind of, just to kind of evaluate, or even take a step back, evaluate our overall kind of forecast approach and messaging for events, or events such as these events that are higher impact but low confidence type events. Now, I think our office did a phenomenal job, forecasting, messaging, and providing the best science and service to our partners. But nonetheless, there was this aspect that this high impact, low confidence event that did play a big part of that event there. So, taking bigger steps forward to hopefully move forward and kind of see where we could go, not with respect just to any hazards, but these high impact, low confidence events, but all hazards. And so working closely with our partners, being continuous feedback, and then multiple IWTs with both our emergency management, as well as our broadcast meteorology, work towards kind of evolving our forecast approach and messaging approach, that we were able to have a staff that kind of informed and proactive with the forecast process, and then they're able to communicate that, or at least consistently and concisely communicate that through effective and influential graphical aids, that by the time you did get to a hazard or a high impact, low confidence event, a HILSI as we called it, we would have a public and partners that were aware of this potential high impact, low confidence event, and we're able to take action on that. So while our forecast approach was evolving, bigger steps were being taken with our messaging approach. And on the left side of the screen there, we wanted to ensure that we were highlighting those potential hazards of whether they were high impact, low confidence events, or just hazards in general, multiple days before, the day before, ensuring that awareness of these hazards and conveying that in multiple means through our traditional products as well as our graphical packages. Once again, highlighting those potential hazards days in advance, aiming to provide higher specificity, as well as provide some level of certainty or uncertainty with those graphics. Well, on the heels of that work, our Mission Services Group, or MSG as I call it, was kind of spinning up, and one of our first tasks that we were working on was looking at our burn scar flash flooding, a big hazard and potential impact for our various communities across our CWA there. And so particularly with regards to our flash flood watches, in discussions with our partners, really kind of learning more about the process and the level of service that we could provide them and when we could provide that service. And given the potential lower confidence that could come with the thunderstorm development in and around the burn scars and flash flooding, we wanted to take a look at our flash flood watch approach, one piece to the messaging puzzle per se there. Not to discount the flash flood watch in general, but other ways that we can continue to provide high levels of information to our public, or to our partners specifically here. And in that thought process, we came up with our Ready, Set, Go concept, which in the basic sense is a means to provide continuous flow of information to our partners on specific hazards. And in this regard, and really kind of the main reason for it was our flash flood on our burn scars. So the Ready, Set, Go concept, continuous flow of information, to be able to provide information the days leading up to an event, the day of, the morning of, hours before, and then right to the potential flash flooding event. Not only with our traditional products, but also with various graphical depictions and ready-to-go type images and graphics to convey those hazards there. Well, while that was occurring and while we were prepping, or at least going into the convective season, May 2021 occurred. And as you can see on the screen, and I don't have to tell people there, although it says it was a below average month with regards to reports, here locally it was fairly busy. 21 out of the 31 days, we were in a slight or marginal risk. 10 of those days were slight risk, and I believe there was an 11-day period where we were consecutively a slight or a marginal risk. So it was a fairly active period during that time, as we were kind of, as a group, as our MSG group, looking to kind of evolve our approach towards the flash flood hazards there with specific to burn scar flash flooding. Well, meanwhile, Ariel Cohen, our MIC, as well as Clint Skelly and Brad Caldwell, we're actually working towards increasing Mesoscale Environmental Analysis main concepts, as well as graphic depiction of identified hazards and means to convey that to our public. They were actually working on that during that time there, and it usually seemed like it could be a fit, or at least that we could connect it to, or somehow connect it to take the work that the MSG was doing beyond the flash flood hazards into other various hazards, specifically going into the convective season, severe weather. So connecting the two, we were working towards the question of, a further adjustment of our evolving methods. How could we adjust that to ensure that we were refining the IDSS, the messaging, with time leading up to those events there. And some goals that we had in place from the early on in the convective season were aiming to provide a continuous flow of information with increasing specificity, downscaling of that message with time leading up to the events, and then yet utilizing cutting-edge science and meat concepts to convey those hazards across southern Colorado. So could we further adjust? And the question is, yes, there was an easy fit that the work that the MSG was doing with regards to our Ready, Set, Go concept for our burn scar flash flooding could easily be transitioned into other hazards, specifically the severe season, and into that other high impact, low confidence events there, and then work with increased meat concepts as well as means to convey that information. With the larger, the ultimate goal of identifying and then communicating potential hazards with longer lead time and greater specificity and hopefully accuracy. On an image here, just one quick example of that such with a graphic, either morning weather story or one of our sit-reps or briefing packets there, aiming to identify potential areas where the hazards could occur, timing, so timing, location, the hazards, and even some confidence going in there as well. But then providing a continuous flow of information, downscaling that information with time, refining it to the bottom screen there, where as we get towards the event or the middle event, we can continue to provide information on increasing threats for various hazards there that will hopefully kind of provide that continuous information up until the hazard, with once again the ultimate goal, communicating and identifying those hazards. But I think really kind of aims to help bridge the watch the warning gap there. So, working as a group, and I was on the office of both these various new methodologies, we realized, we couldn't just, live in our own little world. I don't think that these are great ideas. We had an office, we had a staff, we had a team that we're very proud of, that we all work well together there. And so we wanted to ensure as a group that we were taking into consideration our strong office culture that we already had in place and our team environment we had in place, ensure that we continue that moving forward when we're talking about new procedures, when we're talking about new methods, new techniques. I think when we're talking about that, we're talking about change. And change can be difficult. We all know that. We experience change on a daily basis, good change and quote unquote bad change. But it's change nonetheless. And so we wanted to ensure that we were going to be a continued support staff, or support for our staff. And the way we were looking to do that, we're kind of showing with staff that the methodologies were just items that we were kind of thinking of and then trying to implement. This was kind of backed by meaningful data with continuous discussion with our partners, excuse me, as well as the various IDATs that we had conducted with our emergency management and our broadcast meteorologists. Likewise, creating efficient tools that allowed them to not have too much of an increasing workload, but that would allow them to efficiently and effectively convey hazards to our public and our partners, and then be transparent with our staff. Having constant two-way communication, I think, has been key to kind of really help kind of evolve our office with regards to these two new methodologies. And such, and you hopefully have an office or a staff that's willing to try new methods, and then also willing to provide feedback, good critical feedback that will allow us to propel forward, whether it would be ongoing ideas or new ideas there. So on that note, kind of moving forward, I could easily go through a number of days that we saw throughout the month of May, or even June or July or August or September, with how we've kind of enacted this, or kind of taking this approach into our severe season there. But I'll quickly touch on a couple of dates here in the time. May 2nd, of one example, which we saw a day of strong and severe storms across southern Colorado, marked by an upper level trough approaching from the west, the southwest flow in place across the region, with embedded shortwave energy lifting out ahead of that. Retroughing at the surface over across the eastern plains, as well as an approaching front from the north there, the higher dew point air and the higher dew point air in Colorado, 30s and 40s. That's a little bit different here in our neck of the woods here, but coinciding with steep low and mid-level low rates, and yielding by midday already almost 1,000 joules per kilogram of MLK, as well as effective shear of 45 knots. So this setup, as well as northerly push across the Palmer Divide there near Colorado Springs, a moist upslope flow is a recipe for potential strong to severe storms. So we wanted to ensure that we were highlighting that potential, and we actually had been highlighting that. The top graphic highlighting the potential, the days before, the day before of the various hazards, and speaking specifically to the thunderstorm development on that Sunday, that May 2nd there. Utilizing our new approaches here, the continuous flow of information with increasing specificity, the bottom graphic, the morning of, providing higher level of detail of potential locations for the potential hazards, and even in timing there. So really kind of downscale that message, really kind of hone in on various hazards, where they might occur and when they might occur, and get that information out in various means. On this slide here, kind of depicting just graphical means here, but in our entire process, and with the interest of time, and that kind of show you everything, NWS Chat are strongly used. Mesoscale, Meso AFDs are how you use continuous information through those means, as well as our traditional products. Any way to kind of get that message out to the world, be transparent with our partners and public is key. Moving throughout the day, watch coming up on midday, which that is another means of continuous flow of information. And then fast forwarding to the afternoon time frame when we are kind of have been observing severe weather and are observing severe weather across the eastern plains there by mid-afternoon. You can see that on the screen. Clear supercell guiding southeast across the eastern plains, stemming from convection that had occurred across the Pikes Peak region. Moving kind of within a surface trough axis, moisture axis, and instability axis there. So clearly seeing that it had potential to kind of continue developing and continuing to maintain itself as it moved through remaining areas of our CWA within eastern Colorado. Now, concerns of hail and damaging winds had been present, and they were going to continue to be a concern moving forward. Radar trends were showing that this particular storm did have some rotation there. And on that note, diagnosing the environments, utilizing a team approach to kind of look towards the details in the very near term, those mesoscale details. We can look at the surface analysis and once again see that the trough access, that moisture surge that this cell is going to encounter did have some concerns for ambient surface vorticity enhancement. Additionally, we were monitoring kind of other outflow boundary interactions with the storm and potentially other additional updrafts that all can lend itself, but also could work with this increased ambient surface vorticity that would then also provide us the growing concerns for tornadic development. So staying in tune with the base data, the details out ahead of the storm, trying to stay ahead of the storm and those potential hazards, we were quickly identifying that there could be an increased risk for tornadic development across eastern Colorado. So we wanted to continue, we wanted to take that diagnosis of the environment in that the mesoscale analysis there and continue to provide that flow of information to our partners and our public, downscaling and refining that message. That top graphic, we did do that, and we highlighted the potential for severe storms, the high certainty of that potential across Crowley, Bent, Kiowa, and Prowers County there. But even took it a step further once we identified the potential for tornadic development and continued to refine that message with increasing specificity of the potential for tornadic development there across Bent County there. So this continuous flow of information, downscaling information, refining that message with the ultimate goal of providing as much lead time as possible to our partners and our public, and with that increased specificity and hopefully accuracy that ultimately, once again, helps to kind of bridge the watch to warning gap. And as we could see that on May 2nd there, we did see some large hail across the Pikes Peak region, but more specifically there, and on the far bottom right part of the screen there, across northeast Bent County, there was a tornado that did occur that afternoon. Quickly here, another event there that saw damaging winds across eastern plains. We had been noting the speed max approaching from the northwest, once again lead troughing with an approaching boundary. High dew point air and building instability, specifically actually D-Cape was high on this day with damaging winds a main concern, though still some lower certainty with regards to the overall coverage of thunderstorm development. Nonetheless, we were advertising it that morning. By midday, we continued to analyze the data and then recognize the growing concerns for strong and severe storms and damaging winds. Get that information out by multiple means of Mesoscale AFDs and NWS Chat as well as our graphical depictions, as you can see there in the top left part of the screen. Fast forwarding to the evening, continuing to stay into the base data, in the diagnosing of the mesoscale details. We were noting a cluster of storms driving south of central Colorado into an instability axis, but with rapid analysis actually showing the high amounts of sand and potential stable conditions out ahead of it. Further diagnosis of the environment, surface trends as well, or surface observations as well as even overall trends with upstream convection kind of noted that we were not stable, and we were clearly going to see high winds across the eastern plains. So we took that information, translated that into additional NWS Chat quotes, additional graphics, as you can see there, trying to provide as much lead time and high specificity for that hazard for our partners there across Bent, Kiowa, and Powers County, that then led up to the severe thunderstorm warning. And on this day, we did see an upwards of around 90 to 95 mile per hour winds there across eastern Colorado there. Now, the warning, the ultimate goal there, of course, is to provide as much heads up, as much lead time to our partners and our public. So we're really kind of talking about minutes, and I do think that's that's great goal and that's something to strive for. But when we're talking about some of the concepts and the approaches that we're taking here locally, with regards to staying in having high citrus awareness with the environment, staying in tune with the mesoscale environment, and then also providing a high level of detail and information and heads up to our public and partners, we can actually aim to provide an hour, if not maybe multiple hours, heads up of that potential hazard. So, once again, why am I here? Sharing is caring, a great opportunity here to kind of discuss with you all here. Some best practices that we've kind of seen here across southern Colorado. We've got plains that are very high comparison to multiple offices across the central region there, but really just kind of aiming to share with you all our approach, which is it centers around high levels of continuous data analysis, the high use of me concept, and not just the traditional meso analysis position. I kind of alluded to earlier the team approach there, but it really truly is. It's not a position. It's actually a meso analysis team, which we're all staying in tune to the environment, trying to stay ahead of the hazard and provide as much lead time as possible. That team approach, I really think, speaks to our cultural and the overall office buy-in and moving forward with concepts and methods such that we've kind of proposed to our staff. The goal of the continuous flow of information, downscaling of the message, has been key aspect of our warning operations and is vital to informing our partners and our public. Additionally, our ultimate goals of identifying and communicating those hazards, it really helped with the high impact, low confidence events that I had discussed earlier. That was kind of a challenge to us and continues to be a challenge. And that's really kind of helped out, as well as the fact that we are really kind of very mesoscale driven here across southern Colorado here. And we found that this kind of approach and these methods have really kind of helped us meet and address those challenges. And with good lead time, we're able to refine that message and provide enhanced IADSS to our partners. And then lastly here, I jokingly at the beginning of the talk talked about the service side of the house here, but science and service equals service and science here. They're definitely connected, and we can't have one without the other. We are highly in tune with the science prior to the event, leading up to the event, right to the event, but then translates to high level of service to our product. So we can't have one with the other. Likewise, culture, science, service, and culture are intertwined here, and it kind of just, it has to be in order to evolve services, to look towards new methods, to provide high levels of service to our partners. We have to look at it from a team approach, provide constant two-way communication, be transparent, and provide the tools necessary for our staff to accomplish this to gain office buy-in. That's very, very important to us here. And then likewise, this approach, I think here is really going to help with the newer staff we have seen for the last year and for the potential newer staff in the upcoming year to ensure that we're kind of laying that foundation, that scientific meteorological background and foundation for them, training on both the latest advances of science as well as means of providing high-level service to our partners. And once again, I think the team approach really enables them to kind of hit the ground running. They're working side by side with individuals that are in tune with the weather across southern Colorado. So on that note, I appreciate the time here, and hopefully I didn't go too far over. I do apologize, but thank you very much. Thanks to the Mission Services Group, R.L. Cohen, Greg Heavener, and Paul Rowland. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. Matt, we are a little bit over time, so I'm going to say if you have any questions for him, go ahead and put them in the questions box there on your control, and then maybe we can chat with him offline or later on. But we're going to move on to the next talk now here. Up next, we have Todd Lindley. He is actually the Sioux from Norman, Oklahoma. They were nice enough to send us some